So I'm Zero. I've been making Raspberry Pis for 4 years now. I'm a pro at it, so you're going to see some master stuff. I'm going to try to show you like really cool hacks and you know, what like complete libraries of most of the systems that we grew up, retro systems. So I have 43 of them. I've stuck them on a Raspberry Pi 4 at this point, which is this little bad boy down here. It's in this nice hard shell that keeps it safe, doesn't make any noise, radiates the heat away just fine. And when I started, it was on this guy, RasPie 2. And the idea 4 years ago was, oh, I'm gonna just back up some of my old games on a 32 gigabyte card and this nice little robot-y computer thing that I can finally do that with. Hook up a Wi-Fi controller to it. Maybe I'll play some of my old Super Nintendo games. So here's an old Super Nintendo, and my RasPie 3s. This is the size in comparison. You know, it looks like a little Super Nintendo. So I moved on from the RasPie 2 to the RasPie 3. Looks like Super Nintendo, very cool. The RasPie 2, if you have one at home, make something like this. Take a IKEA table, small screen, or like a Game Boy. For the big guys, what kind of buttons?
Those are Sumetsu buttons and a Sanwa joystick, and they are professional Japanese tournament-style joysticks and buttons.
So if you want professional tournament best of the best, what are the buttons?
The buttons are Sumetsu, the joystick is Sanwa.
RasPie 2 or even RasPie 3, make a Game Boy out of it, some tabletop thing, some IKEA thing. It's pretty easy to do. Might get pretty pricey. But you don't need a controller board, which is like $100 deal, which the iPack Ultimate I/O is what I would recommend if you had a big arcade table, which is actually what that box over there is going to be. And arcade table, what I plan is got 100 buttons in it. This guy over here only has comparatively 6 buttons, so it's from the SNES down. And for the RasPie 4, RasPie 3, whatever, I use this controller here, and the box looks like this. You're not going to find them anymore. They're out of use. You might find one refurbished. That's the best of the best. And if I want to play some Nintendo 64 games, I use that. But otherwise, just going with, plug in on the N64, wireless, completely wireless controller. Otherwise, don't want to use a keyboard. You just want one controller, controls 43 systems. I mean, this thing, look how much space this uses up. We have these over here. These are 3 systems. Can you imagine 43 of these guys? What, are you going to fill up your whole entire house with, you know, row after row of a collection like this? That's just deep VHSs. What, are you going to fill up your whole house with that? It's ridiculous. It's going to cost you a ton of money. So this will be our gun eventually. You're not going to find one of those out of print, but it's actually pretty cool. It goes back and forth. It's wireless. It'll do that by itself. And when I was making my RasPie 3, I sold a couple. One in Norway. This was the 64 gigabyte level. And basically, it's a museum. And that's what I'm going to show you. My ultimate museum of RasPie goodness. On the RasPie 4, and 4 years of collecting, you're gonna have quite the collection. On the RasPie 3, I was able to keep this little data scroll from going through. On the RasPie 4, you get that for a second, and then I threw in V-Man's, what are these? The intros. It's kind of fun to see, and I took what I could off of his, 512 Raspberry Pi 3 build, but now we're at the Raspberry Pi 4, and I harvested maybe, I don't know, 400 games off of V-Man's build. The rest of my build is pretty much everything that's in the system all the way down, and on top of that, I threw in some hacks or home brews, and as soon as this little fun thing stops playing, you'll get my system. Took a couple of his arcade games. These are basically just doubles. And as soon as it starts playing, some music kicks in. That's some harp music. Anyway, I'll pause that for a second. As I said, these are just doubles. You know, extra copies that I grabbed from V-Man. I probably don't even need them. I might get rid of that pile. This is the old Atari 2600. I have 834 games. And the way I arrived at this pile is I actually used no intros. And I went through the good games pile. The good games has all the hacks that were from a while ago. I got rid of anything that was kind of pornographic. There was a bunch of it. And with the no intros, you can just start up the game for a sec and you'll see if it's a repeat. The game might have a different name. Atari has no idea what's in its collection. It's just like this endless, ridiculous pile that it licensed out to everybody. Some of the times, you know, it would just be a German edition with the same game, but with some minor color changes. And you know, if there's a there's like a US and a UK version, I got rid of the UK version and I just left the US. So hack, prototype. I threw in all the prototypes. See, this game has 3 different names it's listed by. Atari probably doesn't even know that. I know that. And for stuff like Space Invaders, there was a ton of different versions of Space Invaders. So if you have if you want a good list, a good way to do it is just to put Space Invaders and then hack. Here's like you know, somebody's other, I guess it was called Amanda Invaders, and it just spells Amanda down below. But they're all versions of Space Invaders, and so I weeded all that out. And I threw in every hack that was worthwhile. And see, this is purple. You'll see every once in a while, yellow, purple, same game, 4 different names. Nobody has any clue. The only difference is yellow or purple. And so by getting rid of the all the intros, I had to make sure I picked PAL versus NTSC. PAL is European, 25 frames per second. NTSC is American, 30 frames per second, a little bit better. Was able to figure out the difference between all the Atari games. So there we go. Joystick, 1 button. And I don't need a keyboard for anything. 43 systems, 1 controller. Atari 7800, 77 games. And you don't need the Atari 5200 because all the games that are on the Atari 5200 are on the 7700. And little things like that are why my system's better than V-Man's. Also, he threw a bunch of stuff in certain, like he had stuff in Sega CD that Sega CD can't even play. You need to put them on 32X. So there wasn't as much research done for his stuff as there was on mine. And also, I made sure and I included information for everything. So, Atari 7700, it's pretty clean. Not much difference. I'm not quite sure what this hack is. Usually, I tried to list something saying what the difference was. Jaguar did not work on the RasPie 3, works on the RasPie 4. A little bit of a sound issue. I think Air Cars has a major issue. Anyway, and I went with this theme because it shows the system in the corner. Atari Links, there was a game for this that was made in like 2016 or 17. And I included things like that. I had the system updated to, I think, right before the pandemic. And so any third-party games that came out for like Sega or, you know, the Links here, they're in there. So this is quite the pile. So if you want to know how many the ultimate pile of Atari Links games is, it's 83. The ultimate pile, 58. Thomas Wave, 30 games. This seemed to be about what everybody's collection was. And this is why I went with this theme, is because it has the marquee here. V-Man had a bunch of themes that his system cycled through every time you started it up, but turns out it used up about 4 gigabytes of space, and I wanted that 4 gigabytes of space. This is the same as a Dreamcast, except as you can see here, I changed that, made it for arcade systems, this is an arcade Dreamcast that's pretty much the same as Naomi. Put in my own graphic there. well, I just adapted the Atomic Wave graphic, threw that in there. That's actually something you can do through emulation station etc. All emulation station themes. Then you go down to whatever theme you're at, and then you can just pop out the PNG for these. I think it's labeled system. Put in your own. As long as it's labeled system and it's a PNG, it'll work. Capcom. This is Capcom 1, 2, and 3, all in one system. And as you can see, I got rid of all the weird, crazy tags. I made a video the other day. I thought I was done. Wasn't done. Now I'm done. So this is perfected. And then some of these marquees I like lifted from other things. I think I got this from a toy cover or something like that. And hopefully everyone has the video. If you're lucky, has a little screenshot, includes a marquee and the cover, and Colecovision. Oh, by the way, Capcom. These are very high end, and how you make this system is it's just the same as Final Burn Alpha. You just make an extra folder for it, and now it's your 77 Capcoms. You don't even need to divide it up into Capcom 1 through 2 and 3. Waste of time. 77. That's the total library. ColecoVision, Peter Griffin. Oh, fun day out. So 163 games. I did not go down the list on ColecoVision. For some reason, I just ended up putting the covers here. I felt like it. It's an older system. Even though this is the controller, there's about enough where it'll work on this controller. You know, R3, L3 gives you a couple extra buttons. This center button I use as a hotkey, and as part of the programming, let's see, what did I do? Just gonna hit something. Oh yeah, and part of the programming, what you want to do, normally this has 4 options. You want to delete the exit, whatever it is, exit emulation station. It takes you back to the Linux computer that's actually behind that. Get rid of that. Daphne, this actually had I think I had 30 games, but for this system, I just kept these main 3 because, you know, they represent the little guy in the corner. These are Laserdisc games. They eat up a ton of space. They're really old, from 1984, 1991, 1983. These are really old games, but they're pretty impressive. And they just eat up a ton of space, and I wanted that space for other games. Dreamcast, I just grabbed what V-Man had, and kind of cleaned up his game list a little bit, and as I said in my other video, we added Sword of Berserk and just a couple other games that we liked. And then, of course, in order to get all this done right, I had to cut stuff out of my game list, put it into his game list. There's editors for that, XML editor. Famicom, I was really glad he had translations for me. I had more games for the disc version of it, but you know, he's got a bunch of translations here, and that was cool. I didn't spend all the time to get all the translations I could have for this system. Instead, what I did was I ended up dumping a lot of games together, and the Famicom and the NES and the SNES that were Japanese, English, European, weeding out all the names that were the same game listed twice. A lot of times that happened with the European games. And then I went through all the Japanese games and played them for a few minutes, got rid of what was not fun, not playable. And then now, because I have V-Man's Famicom pile, I have all the translations. So that's done. I didn't go through this list personally on Wikipedia and make sure that I had all the European titles, all the rare titles, all the English titles, but for the rest of my systems, I made sure I did that for. Final Burn Alpha, made my own graphic here, 1,302 games, just a ton of games. But what you have to do in order to arrive at some of these piles is you have to, like say with Mame, I have Mame down the list here. You have to take all your Mame games, and then you have to weed out the Neo Geo games, weed out the Capcom games, weed out the Final Burn Alpha games, and then what you're left with is just your Mame pile, or just your arcade pile. So 1302, This pile is minus all, like I said, any kind of porn game, and minus any hardcore gambling game. I think I left the horse racing games. But there's a lot of fast-moving, really good games on this, and a lot of scrolling shooters. And anything that was Capcom is in the Capcom pile. It's not in the Final Burn Alpha pile and the Capcom pile. It's just in the Capcom pile. Famicom Disk System. This is once again V-Man's pile. Had some translations for me. He had some good videos here. Some of his videos were kind of sketch, which is why it ended up being all my stuff. With just a few extra games from his Game & Watch, I got 2 games, I believe, from his. But anyway, these are the really old handheld systems that Nintendo made. And, you know, here they are. And there's 52 of them that are available. Game Gear, 318 games. Once again, there was some game recently that was made. There was an addition to the pile. But 318, that's about as good as you get. Well, minus a couple repeats. There's some sort of hack difference between these ones. The A1 means an alternate. It's a gaming code. You'll see a lot of gaming codes behind the scenes. A1, A2, they just mean alternates. Game Boy, 611 games. This system's like a 4-bit system. A lot of the games that are on it are also on, what is it, Game Boy Color. But not all of them. There's actually more Game Boy games than there are Game Boy Color. And I've got a couple interesting hacks out of here. Patrick wanted me to get Kokomon, which is like an adult game. And Kokomon Blue, or it's Pokemon Blue, but it's a hack of that. And it's actually better than the Kokomon for Game Boy Color, which is the other good Kokomon hack. Which is the other good Kokomon hack. Game Boy Advance, 1,110 games. And I was able to just take V-Man's list and my list, and he had like 200 extra games I didn't. Couple videos in this collection, but as you can see, I listed them all as videos, so they're not just like lost in all the in the game lists.
In the chaos.
Yeah, you know, you don't end up with just, in my collection, you need to make sure that you just don't have this sea of craziness. So, you know, make sure that this isn't listed as Underground, Tony Hawk. It's Tony Hawk - Underground, and you keep your name consistent, and you'd be surprised
how many people don't do that.
Right. And then when you do that, you don't have to put like an extra Mega Man section in here. These are all just systems, 43 systems. I know Game Boy Advance, I'm going to take a sip of something right here. I'm going to, what is it, Pokemon again?
Yes, Pokemon.
This one has Pokemon Crystal All, which I don't play a lot of Pokemon, but from what I understand, Crystal...
It's the best of the best.
Right. Where is Crystal All? Maybe I replaced it with something. Aquamarine.
Advanced.
Yeah.
But it has all the best of the best.
Well, I'm kind of disappointed I can't find my Crystal All. I must have put it... I'm not quite sure where I put it. Maybe it's in Game Boy Color? What do I know? Let's take a look at Pokemon.
There's so many games.
Pocket Monsters Go-Go. It's easy enough to keep it next to Pokemon. And this is like a hack of the Smurfs. You know, that's pretty cool. This is, it looks like some sort of hack of Super Mario Land. And, oh, there it is. Crystal All. Yeah, so. And see, some of these, you'll see that it has the same video, even though I'm bouncing between the two. And what I did was, part of a way to save space with the media, is I got rid of the extra video, and I labeled this video here with the same video pathway as the video above it, and you can actually scroll down hacks, and the video won't change. But if it's very hacky, I might not have a video. So I went out and I got a nice screenshot for it, and, you know, now when you play it, or when you scroll to it, you'll see a screenshot at the very least. I didn't want to misrepresent some of the hacks, so I left off videos that were inaccurate and just gave you the screenshot. let's see, how many did I have here? 595. So I think V-Man had an extra 95, I guess, for me. This is my Mame 2010, 698 games. It's what is it, Mame 2003 up to 2010, whatever the Mame project produced. I put it in my own little folder for it. I separated it out from the regular Mame games, 890. Most people's Mame pile is much bigger, but once again, minus all the Capcom games, no Final Burn Alphas in there. You know, just everything's in a nice clean pile. And, you know, none of these crazy, you know, 720. And it's not 720 A and 720B. All the folders are merged. All the games are stable. Anyway, Sega Master System, 332 games. So that's how many Sega Master System games. And this one has a couple hacks and a couple public domain. That's what the PD means, by the way. K means Korean. PD, you know. But that's about how many games anybody should have for this, unless they went nutty with the hacks, which I did with some of the systems. This one, Streets of Rage, is really popular now, and I went backwards, and I didn't know Streets of Rage was really cool, but I went down the Streets of Rage 2 hacks, and this is the Kung Fury one. Some of these you'll see specialized screens here. Ren and Stimpy are in there. This one seems to be Mortal Kombat. I'm not even looking over at the list. What is that, Sailor Moon? Yeah, Sailor Moon, another Sailor Moon hack. Ninja Turtles, The Mask, The Simpsons. So, Streets of Rage 3, Dragon Ball Edition. That's pretty cool. Did I see Scott Pilgrim in there? That's pretty neat. You know, so there's a lot of stuff in here I haven't even played. Part of my struggle was actually, and see, I've got all the hacks listed in a nice, sensible way. They're not, you know, it's not Psycho Sonic lost somewhere. It's in there sensibly. And then it goes from Sonic 2, Sonic 1, and then a lot of research into finding out what the difference in certain games are, so you know to list them as 1, 2. Sonic and Knuckles, Sonic the Hedgehog 1, and Sonic the Knuckles, Sonic the Hedgehog 2 might be officially listed in a confusing way, you know, so you got to try to get it in there properly. What is a Sonic in Super Mario Brothers? And then, of course, I listed that. Made sure as much as I could, everything had the proper dates and whatnot. In other builds, you know, people don't take the trouble for that. But you got to have an emulate or a theme that has a marquee. Also, you want something that has a good enough video for you to see. You want something where you can properly read the game names. You want something where you can see the info and see it scroll slowly. Especially on a hack, there might be something interesting listed here. Amy Rose, this is Sonic the Hedgehog for girls, very cool, and it's got her video. It's got her game cover, you know, and if I press start, the difference between my build and others is you'll actually see Amy Rose's cover, and you're like, oh, okay, it's like I have the game in my hands, and it shows you that for a second before it actually jumps into the game. And, you know, it takes a couple seconds for the game to load, but it takes even longer if they're all in zip files. So I have the games unzipped and ready to go as soon as possible. Where's the sound anyway? You gotta hear it. So, there's Amy Rose. Alright, keep hitting mute. Alright, so I'm gonna get out of that. It's fun to see though. And then I have background music on this bad boy. It's playing something. I don't know, whatever. I'm halting it. 951 games. Pretty good pile of hacks. Mostly the Sonics and the Streets of Rage. Other than that, it's pretty clean. Well, it's pretty much just the Sega games. I don't know why I said clean. Nintendo 64. It's usually about 300 games. GoldenEye 007. God Mode. And like in my other video, I'm going to point out again my super fun Super Mario Brothers. For 17 of these games, I put in HD textures. So if I were to play Super Mario 64, play for a few minutes, you would notice that it was the Molly Mutt texture. And I did that for, Mario Kart, 64, Diddy Kong. There's a game up here called Shadow, something like that, Sin and Punishment. High-res texture for this. I don't even think you would even be able to play this game because it's Japanese, but the high-res texture took care of the translation for me. Super Mario 64. This is had to type this in myself. You know, I've been working on this for 4 years, and you know, so you end up with Super Mario 64, even though it's a game for the Switch. It's the cap throwing ability. It's been ported onto this game here. You can take possession of this guy or the guy you just saw. Lots of stuff. Portal 3. I made this, grabbed this from something, and put it onto the screenshot of the game myself, and then found some fan art cover. So that's the cover of the game, the marquee, and the cover and the screenshot. And then I just let the regular video play. This also has Silver Mario, where you're the silver version of yourself and you sink like a brick. And I think I wrote might affect playability. V-Man had 33 games for me in Naomi. He had them in nice CHDs. Once again, I made sure I got rid of all the garbage. That usually comes at the end of arcade game names. You don't need any of that. But these are really high-end Dreamcast system type games. Really good fighters, really good scrolling shooters. Look at that. Ooh, nice. And my pile was like 130, but I couldn't make heads or tails of what I was doing. Very weird format. He cleaned it up. I didn't have any Nintendo DS games. I grabbed 252, just his whole library. I think his game list is the same even. And got this to work just fine. It's 2 screens, and it's got this little pen, but the joystick is the pen. Works just fine, no problem. And you can even set this where you hit a button, and then the 2 different screens, it'll go to one screen, or just the other one, or side by side. You can switch it, and all that's already been set up. Neo Geo, really proud of my Neo Geo pile. Once again, took these games out of every other arcade pile. They're usually lost in there. Waku Waku 7, this one was hard for me to get. So yeah, this is every Neo Geo game, plus a bunch of bootlegs and stuff. 187, that's about max. There was a Frog game in here. It doesn't matter. But SNK versus Capcom, really cool games, really fast, very expensive. Was never able to buy this as stuff as a kid. Now I have all of it. 4 years it took me. Some of the games in that pile are some of the most expensive games ever. Will cost you thousands of dollars to get some sort of soccer sidekicks 3 game. It's in there. It'll cost you, I don't know, half of a motorcycle or something to buy that bad boy. 1,689 games for Nintendo. A lot of hacks in here. And as you can see, hack of, and I changed the levels, palette. I quoted the person who made the hack as much as I could. I even listed their name when available. Let's see, this one, let's go to M real quick. Metroid, somewhere down here. Mario Brothers, Mega Man. And as I said in my other videos, it was really sensible to just say Mega Man 1 through 6, and then just to start listing all the hacks. And there are a lot of Mega Man hacks. Some of them are quite funny. Sonny Bono's downhill ski adventure or something like that's one of them. But I'll just show you all the Metroid hacks. And with the Metroid hacks, if there was something notable about the screenshot, you know, I switched out the screenshot. It took me forever to do all this. It was nutty. And then I'll just show you how many Super Mario hacks, because it gets ridiculous. I'm not a baseball fan, but there are people who are. And so there's every RBI up to 2000. I know I've got 2006 on the RBI, and I've got all the way up to 2020, I believe it is, on the NFL version of it. I can't remember what it's called. It's here in Nintendo somewhere. But anyway, here's all the Super Mario hacks. There we go. There are a lot of them. That was just Super Mario 1 and 2, Super Mario 3. Anyway, oh, that's what it was. Super Tecmo Bowl. So I've got Super Tecmo Bowl all the way up to 2020. Yep. Neogeopocket, pretty useless. Black and white version of Neogeopocket Color. Melanchon's Growth Diaries, worth a ton of money. If you have one in your attic or something, you must be in Japan. Neogeopocket Color, same thing as the other system, but oh, my cursor went right to it. This is actually the Neogeopocket guy, little Neopocket guy. It took me forever to translate in Japanese. Had to use Google Translate, and this was actually supposed to be the mascot for this symbol, for this system. MS-DOS. I didn't have this finished the other day when I made my previous video. I've got it finished now. These are just games for my home. I wouldn't sell a system that had these. But I've just got a few of them. That's one thing that requires a keyboard, but as I said, that's just for fun for me. TurboGrafx 16, also known as the PCE or PC Engine. 253 games, and this is one of these systems where I took all the Japanese, I took all the English, I took all the translations, I put them together in a big pile, took all the European ones, and that's why you'll see so many double names. Yeah, see, this was originally probably listed as Kyuku Tiger, but I found out it was also Twin Cobra, and then I got rid of probably the Kyuku Tiger one and kept the European one named Twin Cobra. So there's not repeats. Sometimes I'll put a J or something like that, warning you that it might be a little hardcore, little Japanese. But if it's not fun, I got rid of it. If it's too Japanese, I got rid of it, and I got every translation I could. About 3 years ago, there was a lawsuit that Nintendo had that took down the Paradise Arcade ROMs download site, which was where a lot of people got their translations from. Making a translation is like making a hack. You can use Lunar IPS to stick the two together. And this system is a 512 gigabyte system, if I didn't say it before. When you make a 512 gigabyte system, it automatically takes your data down to 475 gigs. Then you have to leave 20 gigs at the end on top of that for just like this ridiculous wall that you can't eat past. And that's where V-Man took his Raspberry Pi 3 build up to. But if you create a couple gigs in save space, you've eaten past the wall, your whole system will come down. I've built this system 4 times the last month, and I've had to eat my data backwards. And I found this exact space at 20 gigabytes at the end of the card. And then I ate another like 7 gigabytes behind that for 7 gigabytes of save space. And if I want to swap in a PSP, or swap out a PSP game, and if it's bigger or smaller, I still have my 5 gigabytes of save space. I can throw in a game or two, but if it's a really big game, like a CD game, I might have to pull out of the game. Speaking of which, I left myself 10 PSP games. When I made my video the other day, I had some, for some reason I pasted my marquees down here, and I had lost this, which I had, so I had to remake this in paint.net. I got the marquee, I found a screenshot that I liked, I found a video game cover on Angle at Launchbox Games Database, which is where I get, if I'm missing a marquee, I might grab it from there. And at the same time, they might have grabbed it from me. I've been at this for 4 years, and every time I ran a scrape, all my data gets sent up to Steven Scraper's website in France, and then uploaded to the main server, and then gets disseminated back down. Well, a lot of this stuff, not for PSP, but a lot of games, I would pull the marquees off of, like for instance, in Virtual Boy, I grabbed the Pong marquee from the original from an original Pong machine from like 1976 or something like that, and the camera was at an angle. And so I actually cut out the original marquee, which was just the black letters P-O-N-G and then a light bulb behind it, which lit it up. And it was kind of on a sheet in front of that, like a piece of Mylar behind it or something like that. And so actually I had to grab it at angle, cut it out in paint.net, turn it a little bit, cut out the original font, because that font doesn't exist. That was their font, And so then I pasted that back in to my Virtual Boy's Pong game. And so if you have Pong on Virtual Boy, or like maybe Cadillacs and Dinosaurs. I think I might have grabbed that off of a toy, and that's why the marquee for that exists in the server and is bounced back down. It's because I uploaded that. I made it on, this took me forever. PlayStation. This is just the top 500 list, everybody's top 500 list, and then our favorite games. And they ate up a ton of space, but I said on my other video, it's a bunch of bin files in a queue, and I was able to take like sometimes 40, 50 bin files in a queue, smash it down together so the system can process it a little bit faster into one bin, one queue, and then convert that to a PBP file. So this is 463 PBP files, and they play quicker. If you have Raspberry Pi 4 at the, 1 gigabyte build, or the 1 gigabyte level, you can get it the 1, 2, and the 4. And that's how much RAM you'll have. And these PlayStation games, Final Fantasy VII is 3 discs. Altogether, it's about 1.5 gigs. So if you have a 2 gigabyte RAM Raspberry Pi 4, that leaves you 0.5 gigabyte for all the system function, and 1.5 gigabytes for that game, which is fine. 4 gigabytes is too much, 4 discs is too much. 3 discs, it's totally playable. Don't put anything more than 1.5 gigs, any single PVP file that's more than 1.5 gigs, and then you can set the disk. Seems to be a problem for ETA Prime or something like that. You set one of these R3 L3s, disk side change, and then insert and eject disk. I think I got it up. Insert and eject disk side change, and that's how you just switch between different discs for PlayStation's Final Fantasy VII. I also have Final Fantasy VII on Nintendo. Could have pointed that out. V-Man had a bunch of PSP games. We didn't go with all the millions of PSP games because they're ports from other systems for the most part, and stepped down. And we didn't want to go that way, so we just got a couple special ones, and I can swap them in and out if I want. PSP Minis, 200 games. Angry Birds. Yeah, they're basically phone games. And then these were V-Man's videos on stuff like this. This was what he had of these. There's many, many more, I think, but I wasn't happy with how some of his videos were kind of crackly. Mine ate up much more space, and I used unzipped files, took up more space, but because I got rid of the PSPs that he had, comparatively in his build, in my build, the Raspberry Pi 4 build, I was able to fit in pretty much every Saturn game. And Saturn games are pretty cool, high-end, pretty good shooters. That might be real fun with our nice guns that do that by themselves with wireless. No cord, by the way. Very cool. Super Famicom. Bunch of translations. This is like the Japanese SNES. Not really sure if there's anything to note here other than this is basically V-Man's pile. I might have translated some of these names. Sega 32X. This actually has 41 games, but what is it? Johnny Mnemonic doesn't work. And then I also got rid of Scottie Pippen, which is a 4-disc game, ate up about 2 gigabytes. And games like Corpse Killer, they made it for the 32X as well as the Sega CD. So what you want to do is you want to take all your games that were 32X compatible versions and stick them in the Sega 32X emulator platform here. And that way you don't have to put them into Sega CD. That would be a repeat burning up your memory. Just put them into the Sega 32X if they're those kind of games. There's a few of them. Night Trap, as you saw here, Fahrenheit, Corpse Killer, Night Trap. I put English here because usually this is Japanese, and I believe the video is in Japanese. But Supreme Warrior and Surgical Strike. And as I said, don't put in Scottie Pippen. It's just going to eat up a ton of your data. And that's how I was able to learn to back off from 20 gigabytes and then back off another 7. I had to learn that rebuilding this thing 4 times over the last month, as well as building the 32 gigabyte version, the 64, the 128. I skipped the 256 because I knew what I was going to do with this. I just didn't know I needed 20 gigabytes at the end for nothing. So save yourself some time. Just consider that a vault. And then back off another 5 gigabytes and leave it for save space. And as I said, I didn't throw in VMan's fun themes because honestly, I wanted as many games as possible. I wanted the Sega CD and everything the Sega CD had to offer, pretty much. And that's what we got here. It's a nice system. I believe the CD has a lot of like kind of Laserdisc games that aren't that great, but also got the Sega Saturn. That was what I was like, oh, and we got the Sega Saturn, nice system. That's kind of what I was thinking of. SG-1000, 68 games. That's the entire library of it, and there might be, oh yeah, a couple alternatives, but I think that's it. The Dragon Wing A and B, but that's what this system is. It's really old. This one's tough because of the flippers. I believe this one's C and this one's B, and it can be confusing that way. And if you're programming it in, the way to know is James Bond. Also, when the RasPie comes in and you try to build it yourself right off the bat, don't program in A and B here and here. Program in A here and B there, and that way it's much more sensible. It's natural, but you will have to adjust when you program in the controls for, say, Super NES, because you switched where A and B are at. You'll have to rotate everything. I believe you'll have to rotate all your controls 90 degrees. And so that's what I had to do for all these systems. I had to program in all these buttons one at a time. And if you play any of these games, if you press R2, because these systems don't need that many buttons usually, that's a turbo button. Press any button and R2 at the same time, turbo control. Really easy, really useful. Don't need the, the Super Advantage. Yeah. Anything we want to talk about in the Super NES here that's pretty neat, Pat? I was trying to point out some hacks earlier that were like...
There's some great hacks throughout this whole system.
Oh,
but...
you know what? I did want to point out an almost mythical game, which was the Little Nemo the Dream Master, because we were just on NES, and there was, or SNES, but there was Little Nemo the Dream Master for, oh yeah, here's the frog game I believe I mentioned earlier. Let me try to find Little Nemo. So many great games in this. There it is, just Nemo. It would have been tough to find. I'm glad I found it. This is an almost mythical game for people my age, really old millennials. And, we had this for Nintendo, and there was rumors that there was another, like, prequel game. Well, this is it. It's for Capcom, and it's way better than the NES, whatever the NES looked like. So that's that.
I've always been particular to Mega Man.
Yeah, I made sure I got a lot of Mega Man hacks. Speaking of which, I grabbed Roll-Chan. There's the girl version of Mega Man, Roll-Chan. If I was back in Nintendo, you would see Proto Man, the hack of Mega Man where you're Proto Man, the hack of Mega Man where you're Roll-Chan. I'm on Super NES, so let's just go to... I would have to go to Super for a lot of these games. I'll just go to T right off the bat. And unless I couldn't really avoid naming something as Super, I pulled all the Supers out of everything and I put the game name, Super, and it really cleaned up the Super Nintendo. See, I'm already out of Super. Normally, Super is endless on these systems. And I went backwards and I sort of did the same thing with other systems. I pulled away the name Super from things. People like these Super Mario RPGs. I'm told that you have to play the game on the second player. People try to play their version of this on their own emulator. You use the second controller. It's kind of an oddball that way. Super Mario Land New. This one's really fun. This was for Game Boy, and now it's for Super Nintendo. I played it all the way through. You'll definitely need to create 2 buttons for me it was my hotkey, plus this is L for load, so the other one's save state, load state. So you die, and you just, hotkey in the button, load state, you go back to right before you die. Only way to get through these games as an adult, save yourself some time with a library with 14,700 games across 43 platforms is what you're looking at. I'm sorry I'm not scrolling to whatever I was about to show a minute ago.
Mega Man.
It gets overwhelming. I almost wanted to sell one of the ones I sold to Norway. I wanted to call it the Overwhelm, because that's pretty accurate. So Mega Man with Proto Man, and I got a screenshot, and look, marquee, Proto Man. Screenshot with Proto Man, did the best I could. And as you'll see, as I was talking about earlier, as I drift up and down, the video stays the same. This might have ended up with a video, but I deleted it because it would have been the same video. And as you move up and down, it would have just kept resetting the same video over and over again. Who wants that? Mega Man 7 with bass. Yep, there's my screenshot with bass. And, had to make that myself. That's why, 4 years later, well, it might take you 4 years to end up with a personalized screenshot. Put that in there, paint.net. Had to make sure that you, if you want to do this, you have to make the background 15% bigger, your canvas 15% bigger, and make it a weird color, and then delete that. And then you can paste in these things, and that's how the computer does it, and that's how I do it. Anyway, the computer being the scraper in France, and then when it distributes back downwards. This is the Vectrix, most primitive system. And as I showed in my other video, normally this would be something that you paste onto the screen, and it was a company that was trying to sell a bunch of TVs, so they turned them sideways. And we don't have the paste-its for these, but you can still play a bunch of the games. Yeah, it looks like this. I don't have the paste thing over it, so it doesn't have this like little green-blue film right there and there, I guess. But if I played it, you would get the cover, and then you would get something that kind of looked like that if you were playing it. So anyway, so that's how many Vectrix games there are altogether. And of course, like Super Nintendo, it's not just a big pile of mess of hacks and whatnot. I went to Wikipedia, made sure I got every official game, made sure I got every game that was in Europe, got rid of one of the two if they were the same game, and then, if there was a game that didn't have a translation but was in Japanese, I started it up, played it for a couple minutes, and I said to myself, am I having fun, or are there so many words that I can't understand as an English speaker that I've just got to get rid of this game? And so that's how many games you end up when you cut out everything that's like, no. So no endless arcade games where it's just a bunch of, poker. None of that. And this is what you end up with. Odyssey, it's just a single little joystick, one button, and, the turbo, I guess, so 2 buttons, and a very primitive system. And of course, I made sure I got rid of all the ridiculous little tags. Virtual Boy. I have 45 Virtual Boy games. Everybody else seems to have about 20 to 24 or something like that, which is the main library. But of course, I included all the public domain games. And, even though this is a public domain game, I'm not sure if this cooking simulator, I'm pretty sure I made this. God knows where I cut it out from. Castle of Doom, Channel Sweeper, and so this was written somewhere. And I just cut it out and blew it up, and, now it has a marquee, and you might have gotten that marquee from the server in France. Let's go to my infamous Pong that's in here. It's probably called Virtual Pong or something like that. Did I see it? Simon? Yes. I cut this out of, the game you have as a kid. Well, this is public domain. Yeah, so if you have Simon and if you have that marquee, it's because, over the last 4 years, I took some time and did that. I was going to show you Virtual Boy. Now that we're at the end here, I was going to go backwards and show you my Game Boy Color that has all the Super Mario lands. That can be really confusing. And I'll just show you how to list Super Mario Land. And God, look at how many systems this is. This is ridiculous. And then you can just go, you can hit select, you can go right to the game here, at least the game name. Super Mario, yeah, okay. So here's how you do Super Mario Land. And some of these games are called DXs, which mean they're a more enhanced version of themselves. So even though this is a Game Boy, this is a color version of itself. And so that's why it's a DX. This must be DX of 2. And then Super Mario Land 5 and 6. And that's Wario Land 2 and 3. And so that's why they're not over in Wario Land. It's because they're actually a continuation of the Super Mario Land series. And so they're listed together that way. And you might be asking where 3 and 4 are. They're probably over in Game Boy Plane, you know. But the Wario Lands aren't lost. Everybody's together. Superman Deluxe. Or Super Mario Deluxe. Anyway, I'm speaking too much. Anyway, that brings me all the way to the end. Oh, other than to say, I threw in this graphic from, I don't know, one of the other themes, and cut it out and then repurposed it for here. And you can put together your own themes. Did the same thing with the Naomi graphic. And finally, I don't know, I'm Zero. My cameraman's been
Patrick.
Thank you very much.
And it was good seeing you.